media availability. We are on the downhill slide very definitely now. We're over the top, headed toward the home stretch. And so we had another good day on the floor. More debate. I think as we get into more of the tougher issues that weren't vetted during interim, we'll see more debate. So we'll open it up for questions.
Call Lisa gets the questions.
Yeah, I was going to say, Lisa, you're in today.
I'll ask questions.
No,
Now I got a little anxious. Where's everyone else? I think I know though.
House must have something going on.
There's some press conference.
Yeah.
I think it's that non-discriminate or
Hate crime.
yeah, or the conversion therapy. I was trying to go through all the controversial issues
Yeah, they
there.
would pull a few.
If we could talk about the revenue numbers and tax reform, Senator Stevenson, are those still anticipated Friday?
Well, I don't know about tax reform, but we will have revenue numbers tomorrow at the end of the fourth time in the morning.
And
We'll have an announcement on numbers.
We'll do it at media availability, or we'll do it on the floor.
Yeah, we can either. Well, we'll announce them on the floor.
Okay.
Just before, but I'll probably toward the end, just before we.
And then we can.
And then we can
ask
come right into
questions
here and
from
talk about them.
Right. Anything new from what you told us before?
No, I've actually got a real problem patting myself on the back because I think I'm pretty close. What we talked about.
Shoulders aching.
Close to the.
I've got an elbow.
That doesn't sound good to me, but
I thought you was just going around there hooking everybody that was following you so close. I didn't know you was trying to pat yourself on the back. All your new best friends.
I was hoping he'd be more positive, but anyway, go ahead, Lisa.
Sorry, I was just going to clarify. Close. You had said about 300 million down.
Well, we're 300 million down in collections roughly for December and January, and it's all education money. It's all income tax. Actually, we're really close. The rest of the models fit really well as far as income tax, gas tax, and sales tax. And so we've hit really close on everything. Again, the question is this a trend, or is it just a behavior issue caused by the taxes from last year? If it's a trend, we've got a real problem. If it's behavior issue, we've still got a problem because we won't know about it until after the session. Yeah, the fix won't come till April.
And the modeling that you do for consensus numbers doesn't allow you to anticipate whether to account for it just being an anomaly that would be fixed.
That's correct. The one thing we could do, we talked with Jonathan yesterday, is we could release numbers tomorrow, and then we could come in and have at least get another 2 weeks and look and see if this trend is starting to reverse itself. But that would mean we'd have another number release, and that would mean we would have, if those numbers were up, we'd probably we'd need a bigger circus tent.
So this is, obviously it's a little, we wish the revenues were up higher, but I hope everybody remembers too that even though they may be down, our economy's growing. And that's, it's just a matter of how much. And so that's real positive for the state still. And in many ways, stable, consistent growth is better than volatile cycles. So we hope this is a stable, consistent growth and brings us into less volatility, but we'll see.
Well, it's kind of a conflict because we look at new jobs creation, we look at our unemployment rate, and all those things are really where they should be. We're in the number one category across the country, but we've just got an anomaly here. We think it's an anomaly of 2 months of really down income tax.
Okay. Tax reform, I don't think there was much of an update since yesterday, but
I know the House is still working and trying to get a bill that we can look at.
Do you have anything on that?
It's a work in progress, and it will be until it's not.
But the
smart guy.
That's not very encouraging.
Like an answer.
The revenue numbers, though, will have an impact, though, on what you can do as far as the overall tax package, right? So it has to weigh, in terms of cutting on top of the proportional decrease from broadening the base. I understand that sales tax a sales tax cut might be in the mix now with an income tax cut to keep that rate down.
You know, I at least my position, and I don't know if we've taken we haven't taken a caucus position, but my position has been that let's find out how broad the base is and how stable we can make it, then we'll talk cap. And the amount and where it comes from, I think are secondary to the policy behind it still.
It's just premature at this point.
Yeah,
So-
there's
Senator Escamilla, any comments or things we had good discussion about a couple of your bills? And
Oh yeah, just one. Well, it was actually a House bill, so I spoke with the chief sponsors, Senator Ivory. Some good questions raised about this idea of the sex registry, sex offenders registry list, and I think there's a lot of conversations happening in judiciary. Some of you serve in that committee, where we want to make sure that there's a fairness process and people that pay their dues can get out. The bill is a little bit confusing, and I think we're working with Senator Hilliard, and the sponsor will definitely do his work with with Senator Hilliard. But the idea is that we can have that anything where there's more than 4 years of a difference between a minor and the person, whether it's in this case will be an adult, if it's more than 4 years, then that person should be in the sex registry list, and that's what the bill does. It confirms that there will be no way to negotiate that out of the registry. And so Senator Hilliard raised a good question about maybe the judges should have more ability to make those changes, and that's what I brought back to the chief sponsor. So I'm sure there'll be amendments in order to move
On the floor.
On the floor.
okay, that actually moved to the third reading, didn't
Yeah,
it?
it
Yes.
It is, so
Barely.
barely.
If I could ask a question about something I was told by one of the House leadership team, and that's that it looks like you might be around 3% for a sales tax rate, given the broadening of the base that's in the bill now, and where things look to be. That's different than the governor's 1.75% sales tax rate. Does that sound like about where you're going to land, or how do you feel about that? Oh,
Senator Hammond.
I think it's more concrete detail than we have ever seen. So,
Yeah. We've not seen those numbers. But again, that means the base isn't quite as broad. And so, and yet, it's part of the challenge is going to be not only how broad the base, but making sure that it's functional, you can implement it, and that's going to be part of the process. There are entities out there that aren't collecting sales tax now that will, and so how do you make that functional for those businesses, those industries, and trying to do it in the most productive, least intrusive way.
Since you got more information than we do, can I ask you a question? Was it your understanding that 3% was the state portion of the tax, or was it combined?
the state portion.
Okay.
The state
So
portion.
it down from
Okay.
4.75 or whatever it is.
Yeah, because I think that's what the conversation is centered on, right? And I know that's a whole nother piece of this that I don't fully understand. Does that automatically drop the local entity's share if you don't take action, or do you have to take action to drop theirs proportionately? Or
So I think we can't answer maybe what's happening there, but we can talk about that problem. And obviously, if we expanded the locals 1 or 2% sales tax to that broader base, that would be a big revenue increase. So they would either have to drop their rate, and then when you drop their rate down to revenue neutral, it becomes a little bit complex because the state as a whole can do that, but as you look at different municipalities or counties, there'll be some municipalities and counties that have potentially less revenue, and some that have more, even by making it revenue neutral. So that'll be complex. probably some hold harmlesses and other things.
Okay, and I apologize, I don't really understand the state's control over those rates. You set the local rates, or you give them limits that they can
I think
raise to, correct?
with the UTA portions, we've given them, I know we've given them local options and they've self-imposed them. Same with the resort, I think, the community tax. So some people impose them, some people don't. So they are local
The
options.
basic local rate, though, 1%.
I think we
said,
should, yeah,
so.
we should.
The rest are mixed. There's a restaurant tax in some counties where if you buy prepared food,
Yeah.
you pay more than you will. Your tax will be more than if you're buying the same item at the grocery store, the discount. And I don't remember that we enacted. I think we left the tax on food at the local level.
We did.
So it will be.
I think the total tax on food right now isn't it like 3%?
With the local
With the
option.
state, yeah, with the state and.
But then you've got this
it
local
depends
option
on
on restaurants.
local option,
Well, yeah,
right? Like if you buy in
the
Park City,
basic
it's
rate before
more
option,
expensive.
before
It's
the
1.75.
other add-ons is.
Before add-ons, it's 1.75 with the 1.25 local option if they
Yeah.
enacted
So
it.
this bill would need to
2.7.
address those local rates to make sure that by broadening the base, you're not giving them a windfall.
There's lots of ways to do it. I don't know. It'll be complex. I mean, one way would be not to change it at all, and if that'd be challenging. Or one way is to try to. There's just lots of different options. So the thing that I think we know for sure, and we've said over and over again, is this is going to be complex.
Part of the issue with the local piece that's hard to deal with is a lot of the local entities have gone out and used that money for different things, and some of them have bonded against
Yeah.
their
This was
Revenue
collections.
streams.
So
Against
that-
the rate, though, or
Not
against
against
the
the
revenue
rate,
stream?
but
Because
they
the
bond
revenue
against the
stream
revenue stream,
Yeah.
stayed the
but
same.
we need to make sure. Well, as long as
There's
that's
different
maybe
allocations.
that's maybe.
And-
As we need to be very, very careful that it is
Right.
the revenue stream is the same.
We've changed local sales tax distribution a couple of times, moved it further away from point of sale to a population based. And I think the last time we did that, there were cities that received more revenue, cities that received less. And I think as it was put in place, there was a hold harmless with the thought that the bonds and the revenue that the cities had committed to, that they had to maintain that because they had financial commitments for their budget. But the thought was that they would grow up out of it, and the new revenue population and local option eventually would inflate and grow some cities out of it. Actually, I think a few years ago, because there were cities that the hold harmless was expiring on and they hadn't grown out of it, came back and asked for extensions. So it will be complex.
So that adds to the price tag doing this, right? If you have to put some hold harmless money into the bill?
It'll mean that the base may not be as low. Okay, I think you're gonna have to work through that. Okay. So get
So
ready.
you've got plenty of time to get all this done,
We
right?
do.
Yeah.
4 weeks in legislative time. In fact, it's down almost to 3 now.
3 and a
That's,
half.
yeah, that's forever. So.
Dog years.
Okay. Any other questions? Appreciate you being here.
Thank
you.
Yep.
Well, thank
Any
you
other
for the
questions
private-
online before we give up? Okay. Thank you.
It's a virtuous cycle, Jerry.
Yeah.